think one of the most challenging and difficult things that I've had to do as a property investor over the years is create a strategy that worked for me. Now, there are so many different ways of thinking about property. You could develop, you could buy and sell, you could renovate, you could build, you could buy and hold for the long term, you could target cash flow, you could target capital gains, you could focus on making short terms of cash. There are just an unlimited number of different strategies out there, and it doesn't help with people like me on YouTube or wherever you're watching this throwing out our ideas into the market with the other 1,000 different ideas. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about what is the right property investment strategy for you. Just catching up with an absolute legend of a client of ours. His name's George, and George has bought a bunch of different properties in Melbourne over the last 20 years and effectively put himself in an extremely strong financial position. And what we were both having a laugh about is the fact that when we both got started in property, we really didn't know what we were doing. In fact, we thought we knew what we were doing, but what we were really doing was just buying property and hoping that it all worked out well. And what we were both just saying over lunch was how different our lives would be if we had a clear property investment strategy when we were getting started. So I think it's important to talk about how to develop a strategy, and then we'll talk about what could be a number of different strategies or different ideas that could be right for you moving forward. Now, the first thing I wanted to say about strategy is it's one of those things where you really have to sit down and take the time to do it without too many distractions. So when I'm sitting down doing this stuff, I generally like to get outside and in nature, or I like to sit down with my wife and have a bit of a beer, or sometimes I do it actually when I'm flying between the Sunshine Coast and Sydney or somewhere else. I just find it's a time when I can really sit down and be clear about what it is that I want. Out the back there, sorry I'm hiding behind this post, it's just super windy down here in Brisbane today, and I'm trying to protect the sound quality. But the first thing that I do once I'm in the right environment for thinking about strategy is I look at exactly where I am right now. So I look at, I suppose, my budget or how much it costs me to live my life each week, and I look at my total income. Now, if you're just getting started, that's pretty simple. What are the fixed costs in your life and how much money are you earning in your job per week? But as you go further and further down the path as an investor, there's other things to think about, like what your overall net cash flow position on your properties are, which is effectively just looking at the total income, the total expenses, and taking that off each other so that you know what your actual income looks like. But regardless of where you're at, I think taking stock of where you are is a perfect way to start this conversation. So I look at what I'm doing for work right now, I look at the income coming in, I look at the expenses in my life, I look at how much I can potentially save per week, I look at the quality of the assets in my life, and I get an overall picture of where I am. I then sit down and I look at where I'd like to be 12 months from now, so I do a bit of goal setting there. I don't do it anything over the top. Goal setting to me comes into 4 categories. The first one being wealth creation, which is business and property. The second one being my family. The third one being my health and wellness, and the fourth one being my friends, which I sort of put into the adventure category because I like to do cool stuff with them. And what that does for me is help me break down the different goals that I have in my particular life. So a goal for you over the next 12 months might be to save a deposit. A goal for you for the next 12 months in terms of property investment strategy might be to identify what you want to buy and where you want to buy it and get educated. Or a goal for you might be to actually go out there and buy a property or a couple of properties over the next 12 months. So it's important to set those goals as part of your strategy. And then from there, I look at my bigger, longer term picture. So where do I want to be in 15 to 25 years from today? And I'm not getting really specific here because, who knows what the hell is going to happen over the next 15 to 25 years. And you don't want to sort of set long-term goals, but what would the ideal day look like for me? And it's as simple as me going, well, I'd love to be spending time with my family, I'd love good quality choices in my life, and I'd like a certain amount of passive income. Now, if you don't know what type of passive income goal that you're looking for, then the simplest thing is to look at your current salary and maybe your partner's current salary if you're if you have a partner, and going, let's replace that. So imagine you didn't have to go to work tomorrow, but that income continued to come in. That would be a really nice starting point for where you should be aiming at financially over the next 10, 15, 20 years of your life, at least through passive income. Now, I have a pretty clear vision of my future. It really revolves around starting cool businesses, helping people, slowly investing in high quality properties, and slowly setting myself and my family up for that long-term passive income we're looking for life. But I don't get too caught in that long-term picture. I just want to enjoy the day, and I want to make sure that I'm present all the way through my journey, making the most of it. Now, after I've done that, I look at what's holding me back at the moment, or what challenges I'm facing. That could be savings, it could be no deposit, it could be a low income job, it could be the fact that it's not the right time to buy a property at that time of the cycle where you live. It might be the fact that I don't have enough information about the marketplace, or I'm overloaded with info. It might be that I don't have the right team of advisors around me, or that I'm just really, really time poor. In my life, I've got a couple of businesses and I've got young children, and so that over the last few years has taken some of my focus away from investing in properties in my personal life. Now, all of those things are real, and for all of us, we all have stories that we're telling ourselves, or we all have challenges that we've got to overcome to get to where we want to be. Otherwise, we'd already be there. So that's a realistic thing to do. Sit down and look at what's been holding you back from achieving your goal until now, and getting real with that. And then the last thing I like to do from a property investment strategy perspective is identify my property investment goals. So the first thing I do is I look at my budget, and how much I've got to spend for the property, what I can afford and what I can borrow. I then look at the right market, identify the right state, the right city, the right suburb, the right type of property. And I've talked about all of these things in other videos or on our podcast over there at the Pumped On Property Show, which you guys can have a listen to. A really strong video I recently created was titled The 4 Rules of Successful Property Investing, and is a really, really good way to sort of get your foundations in place if you're not already across that stuff. So for me, I have a very, very clear property investment strategy, but these are the types of questions I ask myself each time I'm thinking of, aligning my strategy or buying another property. I say, am I a low risk or a high risk investor? Am I looking for long-term capital gains or short-term gains? Am I looking for high cash flow or low cash flow? Am I looking for brand new or an existing property? Do I want a metro market or a regional market? Do I want a house or a unit? Do I want something that I can add value to and be very active on, or do I want to be more of a passive investor? Do I have the right team of advisors around me and in place? Am I looking for a single income property, meaning just a house or a unit that gives me one set of rent, or am I looking for dual income, like a house and a unit? Not a house and a unit, a house and a granny flat, or something that I can rent by the room. And all of these little questions that I ask myself over time help me design my strategy. Am I looking for a small piece of land or a big piece of land? Am I looking to be close to the city or further away from the city? Am I looking to be directly on the beach or further away from the beach? And all of these questions that you can ask yourself help you design the right property investment strategy for you. So that's sort of the process I go through. I look at where I am right now and be honest about that. I look at where I'd like to be in 12 months, where I'd like to be long term. I look at the challenges or what's been holding me back from achieving my goals. And then I look at my property investment goals specific to where I am. So obviously your property investment goals change as you become more sophisticated and as you learn more about the marketplace, or you get a better team of advisors, or you outsource, the buying of a property to someone like a buyer's agent. But, wherever you're at, you design a strategy that works for you. Now, for me, my strategy in terms of what is the right property investment strategy for me has 2 different parts to it. The first part, because I'm a low risk investor who's looking for quality long-term assets, is to have part of my portfolio that I literally buy, I hold, I hope to get a really strong long-term return out of it from a growth perspective, and I get strong cash flow out of it. And my ultimate long-term goal for those properties, or that part of my strategy, is a passive income for life to replace my current salary from my job. Now, The second thing that I do, which isn't for everybody, but is for me, is I strategically buy properties with the intention of holding them for a 5 or a 10-year period of time, and then selling them to pay off big chunks of cash or debt off other properties that I own, or I potentially look at short-term opportunities. So I might buy a property, renovate it, and then sell it, or I may look at buying a piece of land, cut that piece of land in two, sell one of the pieces of land and then build on the other. So that's more of that short-term manufacturing growth type strategy, which I think can be really, really important for those of you that have the right skill set there to execute on it. Generally, to do that, you have successfully over time, you either have to be in the industry or a builder or a town planner or an engineer, or have friends that do those things so that you don't make mistakes. It's a much, much higher risk strategy if you don't have the right skill set, but that is, after 10 years of experience, is what I've decided to do. So my main focus, and where 80-90% of my attention is on the long-term quality buy and hold properties that I own or plan to own in the future. But then I like to do some of that shorter term transactional stuff to speed up the process towards financial freedom. So, in terms of the right strategy for you, it all depends on where you are in your life, what it is that you're looking to achieve in your life, the challenges that you're facing right now. Some of you might be listening to this just completely getting started. Others might be in a position where you own your own home. Others still might be in a position where you own your home plus a bunch of other properties, and you're looking to take your portfolio to that next level. But I've found that a lower risk approach to investing with higher quality properties, always targeting houses in metro markets like Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane at the right time of the cycle, is the right strategy for me personally. And I hope to continue to be able to execute that strategy over the course of my lifetime to slowly improve my position financially and to help set myself and my family up for our future as a bit of a insurance policy for our future, and as a bit of a way to get decisions back in my life sooner, because we've all got to remember that regardless of your strategy, there's only one thing we're trying to do, and that is to create a passive income stream for life, which enables us to have the choice to do work we enjoy, to spend time with people that we care about, and to do the things that are important to us. And regardless of the way that you're making money, whether it's shares or businesses or your job or property or some other type of asset, the ultimate goal is always, or should always be, the same for everybody: to get those choices in your life. And the simplest way to do that is to design a quality strategy. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please take some time this year to sit down and think about where you are and where you want to be. Create a plan for your future, because as you would already know, it's too easy to sort of miss this year, miss next year, miss the next 5 years, and all of a sudden you're 5 years deeper into a job or a business that you may or may not love, and 5 years further away from living life the way that you want to live it. So if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. Please check us out on the Pumped On Property Show podcast on Apple or Spotify. For those of you seriously thinking about buying a property or considering it over the next few years, please jump over to my website, www.pumpedonproperty.com, and book a free strategy session where myself or my brother Simon will sit with you and talk about where you are and where you'd like to go, what's holding you back, and completely educate you on the market. Now, that's complimentary. We don't take on a huge amount of clients each month, so it really is about adding value to your life. It's part of the way that we like to give back, and then obviously if you decide to work with us, we can talk about that as well. But I wish you all the best this year and next, and good luck with everything that you're trying to do strategically in your world, and good luck as you walk towards your financial freedom.